Good morning, namaskar, welcome. Welcome to the Editorial Edge once again as we deal with current affairs issues, articles that you ought to take a closer look at every morning in this intensive 1 hour session that comes to you every morning on StudyIQ English. My name is Bhuvan, and over the course of the next 1 hour we have again an informative session planned for you. But before I give you the general overlay of how this session is planned, if you're watching me live, very quickly just let me know if you can hear me and see me all right, so that we may begin. Good morning, Deepak. How are you? Welcome. So the agenda for the day is that from now, beginning 8 a.m. up until say the next 60 minutes, we will take a look at two topics. The two topics being, we'll take a closed look, in fact a deep dive in India's skill development. What's the problem? What are the challenges, the issues, what are the programs being run insofar as skilling in India is concerned? Because on the 15th, we had the World Youth Skills Day. So it's an important topic that we ought to cover. Thereafter, we'll take a closer look at a topic called Femtech. Now, UPSC always loves these kind of new topics that comes up, that are easy to miss for a student, say, in the volume of information that is provided to them. Good morning, Tanu Kumari, Ankit, Rajput, good morning. Arka, good morning. Have a wonderful day. Bulbul, good morning. SM Mansu, good morning. Welcome, guys, all of you. Thanks for joining this morning. All right. So we'll take a look at that. Femtech are going to be a second agenda. And so it's a best advice because it's a new term that's come of late. And so UPSC loves these kind of new terms. And as a student, you are more likely to miss these terms because, again, you're dealing with a lot of information on a daily basis. So this is going to be the agenda. All right. Thereafter, in the 9:30 session, so I'm back again at 9:30 a.m., we will discuss a particular geography article that caught my attention from science.com, which essentially talks about the interaction between the moon's gravitational sphere of influence, the sun's gravitational sphere of influence, and how that acted on Earth. And so if it wasn't so, if these two spheres of influence of gravitational fields wouldn't have acted together, there could have been a situation where a day on Earth would have been, say, 60 hours long. Okay, so we'll take a look at that. It's a very interesting article. So join me at 9:30 a.m. for that too. Okay. Good morning, Navneet, Prateek. Thank you for joining. Good morning. All right, so let's get into it. So these are the two topics that I've just introduced before you. And also we'll take a look at the MCQ. Because beginning yesterday, what I've decided is that the questions that will be posed here, those students who take the effort of answering them in the comment box, well, I'm going to figure out their names and I'm going to present their names, create a small memory for you, so that probably down the years, if you are in the services or wherever you are in your life, you look back at this period and think, oh, you know what, this is what I was doing. This was the effort that I was putting in. And so small memories are important to create in a long process such as the UPSC. So besides obviously the knowledge information that you will gain out of all that effort, it's also just create a small memory for yourself. So I'd again implore all of you, be a part of this knowledge sharing process every morning at 8 a.m. All right. Okay, let's get into it. So let's look at the topics first. The questions from yesterday. Just very quickly we'll do that. Run them by in like 2 minutes. So the first question I had for you was African cheetah red list status is vulnerable, which is correct. All right. The Asiatic cheetah. So there are two kinds of cheetahs. You find that the African one is vulnerable. The Asiatic cheetah is critically endangered. That's again correct. And Kuno Palpur was in fact a proposed site for the lion, the Gir lion that now is known as the Lion of Gir. But eventually, essentially in the first days, Kuno Palpur was also proposed to be a site. However, the government in its wisdom decided Gir. And so that's where the story of the Asiatic lion developed. But this is correct. So the correct statements here being all of them. All right. Let's go forward. The next question that I had for you, Nokrek, yes, in Meghalaya, very, in fact, deeply involved with the conservation of the red panda. Okay, so this is again correct statement. All right. And in situ and ex situ conservation of the red panda is being carried out at PNHZP, the Padmaja Naidu Himalayan Zoological Park. Well, correct. This is true too. In fact, in the in situ conservation, you find under Project Red Panda that there is conservational breeding going on. Okay. This is going on. So conservational breeding is going on, and thereafter XE2 conservation, the release in the wild was also done previously in the year 2005 and of late also in the Singa-Leela National Park. This is what we had done yesterday. So the correct statements here being both are correct. All right. The third question that I had for you, India and Bangladesh have the highest diversity of cicadas. Absolutely correct. Yes, we do. Deforestation and soil contamination are directly threatening. Of course, because they feast. They are, in fact, they look at the soil nutrition. They are an essential part of the nutrition of the forest soil. And so, which is why they do not play a disruptive role. In fact, they play a very constructive role. The cicadas, the small insects that we discussed in yesterday's class. All right. So, this is incorrect, which means 1 and 2 are the correct statements here. The fourth statement that I had for you, Black Sea is an example of a marginal sea, is correct. Kerch Strait connects Black Sea to the Sea of Azov. We discussed this in yesterday's map. All right, have a look at that map very, very closely. It's been in the news almost on a daily basis. So it serves your interest to know that map inside out. All right. And the third one, the SWIFT system is controlled by the IMF. Well, no. In fact, the SWIFT system is controlled by the central banks of the G10. All right. The G10 controls the SWIFT the payment system. And what you realize is that which is why when the Russia-Ukraine crisis developed, you quickly had the G10 come and exclude Russia, And so thus you find that Russian banks now are demanding this, that they be also a part of the SWIFT system, the messaging system, which is in fact the primary telecommunications for financial transactions in the international framework. All right. So you had the Black Sea Grain Initiative, where Russia pulled out of it. Next day you found Russia was targeting the particular port cities. Why was that happening? Because again, it was deprived, its banks were deprived of entry into the SWIFT system. All right. So it serves well to for you to know the full form of SWIFT system, as well as that the G10 countries control it, with Belgium and the United States Federal Reserve being the lead overseers of the SWIFT messaging system, which means this is incorrect. So the correct statements here being 1 and 2. So with the 4 statements now that we have discussed, well, here are our first, in fact, the very first list of students who cared to answer and answered correctly. So I've decided to name this segment MCQ Masters. We have Karuna Gautam, Kannan S, Coder SD and Monica Thakur. Thank you so much. And so if you want your names to figure, create a small memory for yourself in this preparation. Well, answer the questions that I have for you today after we discuss the concepts that we have, the skilling concept as well as the Femtech concept. All right. Good morning, Monica. Congratulations. Sunita, are these classes useful for the judiciary exam? Well, if your judiciary examination does have current affairs, I suggest you remain a part of this lecture, because current affairs is something that we deal with exclusively in this morning hour session. All right. Hi, Bhaskar boss. Jyoti Dhange. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Bulbul, yes, I'm reading. I'm reading for your benefit. Don't worry. All right. So once again, let's start with the topic. The first topic that I have for you in skilling. So World Youth Skills Day, observed just a couple of days ago. On the 15th of July, the theme this year being completely focused on teachers. Okay. The theme being skilling teachers, trainers and youth for a transformative future. So again, this is just the factual basis. You ought to remember this. The United Nations came up with the theme 15th of July. That is it. The Skill India mission now. This is where we come in. You see that it was also launched on the very day, the World Youth Skills Day. Which year was it launched in? Can someone let me know in the chat very quickly? All right. So now the youth between the ages of 15 and 24, what you find in India, in fact, is they comprise 1.2 billion people. Okay. This is in fact the world population. Sorry. The world population, 1.2 billion people, accounting for 16%. And now they are projected to increase and keep increasing. Okay. So the young people coming of age in the whole global scenario, and in India's case especially so. Now what you find is a new term that is introduced for you, which is called the youth bulge. Okay. So at 9:30 we will discuss, say, the tidal bulge, completely different. Youth bulge is having a large segment of your population in children or young adults. What are young adults? Say just under the age of 18. Say 14 to 18. Okay, so seen in the few developing countries, large share of children and young adults. Now you find that the Sustainable Development Goals, Agenda 2030, 7 years that we have to achieve it. Most countries have said we are not going to achieve it. Variety of reasons, we have discussed them. But SDG 4 mentions this particularly. It focuses on generating life cycle learning opportunities. How? Through imparting skills, investing in quality technical and vocational education. So this term is important for us to know now. Technical and vocational education training. What is this? What does it exactly mean? All right. What does technical and vocational education mean is something as a UPSC aspirant you ought to know from the mains perspective 100%, from the prelims perspective also surely. All right. So let's first understand what is TVET. Okay. The technical vocational education training. So now the UNESCO definition, and this I have taken from the UNESCO website. So what it refers to is the acquisition of a wide range of educational training and skill developmental processes. The words here, educational, training and skill development. Now we'll discuss this individually, okay? Why is it important? For cross-cutting occupational fields, production services, livelihoods, just to make sure that you are ready for the market. Okay, this is what the definition tells me. Now emphasizes the facilitation of decent work and lifelong learning for inclusive and sustainable economies. What does decent work mean? That there is a dignity in the work you do. Okay, that it's not say soul sucking. You know, some jobs are like that. That in spite of say you are having to do it, it's like that. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't attack your dignity. All right. Lifelong learning, that you should have an ability or the mechanism in place to learn and improve your skills on a day-to-day basis. We'll discuss. I'll give you a very pertinent example. And the other operative word being inclusive and sustainable. Why inclusive? Because what you find is that in the labor force, this is inherently skewed towards the male gender. That female participation is a challenge. Now for a variety of reasons, we can discuss them. But you find that unless and until you include this on an equal footing as the male counterparts, and only then can you realize the vision of a successful, robust economy. So one of the reasons why this is not happening is because this segment does not have say access to quality education, vocational training, okay, access to livelihood, that is not there. So TVET looks to fill these gaps. Clear? Now let's go forward and look at these three completely terms. Now please understand, why is education important? Why is training important? Why is skill development important? Okay. Think from your perspective. You guys are civil service aspirants. Right now you are in this phase. You are learning the basics of say governance in India, administration in India, which will obviously be built upon say when you enter the services. But right now you are learning the necessary prerequisites that will enable you to make the best of this phase. Once you clear the civil services, when you go to Lal Bahadur Academy, therein is your training. You are trained now. The job expectations. What are the skills required in the discharge of your duties? So the senior officers, the faculty there, all of them will be training you to make sure that you have the skills required, say for an IS, IPS, IFS officer. All right. Thereafter comes the skill development bit. Now, more often than not, you will find that say in these programs, mid-career training programs are introduced for IS officers. You must have seen on the Twitter accounts that they will be visiting LBSNA, say after 10 years of their service, for a mid-career course, okay, wherein it's like a refresher course. What happens there? What do you think? They just go and have a reunion? No. It's more about understanding now the changing nature of your job. So when you entered the services, the demands were different. The technology that time present was different. So to make sure that as an administrator, you are up to date with what's happening. Skill development. You realize? If this is the framework that we are following for an IAS officer, why should it be any different for say someone who is working say a day-to-day job or a daily gig worker or whichever segment, whichever sector that they work in? This is the necessary prerequisite Only this way can you maximize the potential of an individual, which is the central focus of TVET also. Okay, this is what it looks to do. Correlate it from your own experience and you will not have to remember, guys. All right, go forward. So now what has been our journey so far? What do you find? TVET has the potential to provide equitable jobs for 1 million young people who enter India's job market per month. This is what you're looking at. 1 million people per month entering. Now what do you need? It's a massive amount of people entering. How should the industry soak all of these people, place them in a manner in which they are able to say maximize the mutual benefit? Company should also benefit from the skill. The person should also benefit. How do you do that? Establish a network of formal institutions. Have you guys heard of ITIs? Have you guys heard of ITIs? Let me know what's the full form of ITI, guys. Industrial Training Institutes. What happens there? Skilling in the skills that matter, in the skills that will allow you to live if say D-Day comes. You and I would not know half the skills that say these individuals know. All right. So ITIs are training institutes. So they will provide an array of skill sets, including reskilling and upgrading, which has been a priority area. Because 1 million people are entering the job market, you need to prepare them. Okay. Or else what you're looking at is say unskilled workers entering the market, which means your production efficiency is low. So if you're looking at $1 trillion economy, it can't come with people who do not know how to work or what work they are doing. They need to be very efficient, in sync with the market expectations. All right. So the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSDE. Please remember this because this was asked by the UPSC, I believe in the year 2018. Okay. Skill India, there was a question on Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. We'll discuss what the basics of PMKVY are. UPSC went ahead and asked who was the controlling ministry. Which is why I always say whenever you look at a particular program, a particular body, a particular policy, 2 things you must note down ASAP: who is the controlling ministry and whether it is say in a public-private partnership model, is it a completely whole government subsidiary, what is the nature of that entity. These 2 things you must be completely aware of. If you know this, you will know the work that the particular organization is doing. Okay. So the MSDE, it went ahead and it has its umbrella scheme, the Skill India Mission, launched in 2015 with an overarching objective basically to train 400 young people, 400 million in fact, young people by the end of the year 2022. So now this was our mission, to make sure that education, training and then skill development is done. All right, let's go forward. So the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Okay. Now I'll give you a very brief example. So I have been in this, say the services and thereafter here for close to a decade. Why is skilling important? I'll tell you even for you guys. Knowledge of say the subject is one thing. Practical knowledge of say how the market operates or the industry operates is completely different. All right. Most students say even from the premier colleges would not be able to draft an application say asking for a job. Okay. That is a necessary skill that is also found missing. So what does it tell you? A very basic example I'm sharing with you. What does that tell you? That in spite of say the technical competencies that are required being okay, the human competencies, the language competencies, the personality competencies, non-existent. Okay. So which is why for a well-rounded personality, who's really going to excel in life, you need to make sure your technical plus non-technical both is taken care of on an equal basis. Okay. So the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Now look at this, the skill certification scheme. If any of you have gone ahead and got a barber from one of these urban company or whatever, no. So the barber who will come, you will see that on the certificate it will be written certified by some particular organization under PMKVY. What does it tell you? That say that skill of hair cutting, you and I can also try hair cutting. The results will be disastrous. It's a particular skill set that you have to develop. There's a training for it. So that particular training, that skill set of an individual has been certified by a government agency, which means now they are ready for the market. This is Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. All right. Skill certification scheme implemented by the National Skill Developmental Corporation. We will discuss what is this, guys. Like I've told you, whenever you see a new body, discuss about it. Okay. Which aims to mobilize and equip the youth population with the necessary skill sets training. Is it clear till now, guys? Thank you, Molishri. Thank you so much for your feedback. I'm pleased. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So the National Skill Development Corporation runs the skill certification scheme. What does it have? It has 4 components. Please make a note of each of them, especially from the pre-perspective, guys. The first one, National Skills Qualification Framework. What is the framework? How do you define a good barber? You know, I could also start have a like a certification. Would I be a good barber? No. Training chahiye. What's the framework first? How are you? What's the criteria? That criteria is being filled by this, a nationally integrated education framework designed to enable candidates to acquire the competency levels. See, for example, when you would have graduated class 10, 12, ICSE, CBSE, state board, whatever, there was a framework, there was a particular benchmark. That benchmark is this, the National Skills Qualification Framework. Thereafter, recognition of prior learning. Very, very key, important. Look at this, how this is practical, guys. Before the policy was introduced, people were there in this particular field, working there. Now, how do you recognize that experience? Will their employer give them like a job certificate saying, you know what, he was a barber for me for say 10 years. What's the veracity of that document? So, which means there needs to be a mechanism to recognize the experience of these individuals before the policy came into force, or else it would be unfair. Which is why prior learning, skill certification for youth, especially in the unregulated sectors. Are you a good mason? Are you a good painter? Are you a good electrician? A good electrician must have been working in some place or the other without any formal training. Say, how does training happen? You have a ustad, जिसके यहाँ आप काम करने जाते हो. The ustad teaches you on a day-to-day basis. You learn the tricks of the trade from him, and then you branch out and have your own, say, particular agency. This is how it happens now, guys. This is the whole process here. That you have to recognize that hard work also. Alright. Thereafter, kaushal, a hands-on awareness-based approach with the intention of attracting potential candidates. Now that the past has been taken care of, the framework has been taken care of, let's bring people. Let's have them train with us, certify their skill sets with us, kaushal. And then once you have been trained, once education, training, skill development, all of this has been done, finally they need to enter the job market. Which means there needs to be a place where, say, I as a job giver and you as a job seeker can come on a common platform. I can evaluate your training, make you a job offer, which is Rozgar Mela. You must have seen the Prime Minister have these Rozgar Melas where he gives out, say, employment certificates to n number of people. What is that? A common platform, a common dashboard where the job seeker, the job giver comes. Say Naukri.com. Say, for us, what is say LinkedIn or Naukri.com? For the unregulated sector is the Rozgar Mela. Alright. So that is Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. A question on this was asked in the 2018 and we shall look at that question today also, by the way. Now you have several iterations of this. Okay, PMKVY 2.0, 3.0, 4.0. All of them have different, say, focus areas. The important one for you to remember is that PMKVY 4.0 is inherently different from 1, 2, 3 so far in terms of, say, the service outcomes are concerned. Okay, very, very important. Now, this is an important slide, guys. I would suggest you pay attention for the next 10 minutes. So, the PMKVY, Kaushal Vikas Yojana 2.0, it aimed to target 10 million young people by equipping them with demand-driven skill set. So, you're looking at short-term trainings, recognition of prior learning and special project program. So, whatever the skill set was required, missing, you know, for example, if you are a good painter, but if you do not have, say, idea of how to deal with acrylic paints or whatever, you do not have that idea. You are introduced to that. Shown what is the correct mixture of, say, paint plus water to get the correct hue. Same, I am giving a very basic example, but the knowledge gap that is required, that is filled. Prior learning has to be recognized. So that was 2.0. 3.0, again, just look at the launch year and you will understand what was the target. To make sure that crash course for COVID warriors. Okay, 3.0 was obviously in the midst of that, which means you wanted quickly this unregulated sector. More and more people were searching for jobs that time. Bring them in, give them a crash course, make them part of wherever they can fit. And finally, we'll look at 4.0. Look at 4.0 now, which is to be launched soon. In fact, it was announced in the budget 2023 by the finance minister. Okay, just this year it was announced. And the landmark decision about PM Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana 4.0 is that it looks at a wider young segment, and you're looking at training in AI. You are looking at training in robotics, mechatronics, drones, Internet of Things. Okay, that now people will be trained in the emerging new technologies. Okay, that say we have done enough of the masonry, the painters, the barbers that have been taken care of. We also need to now train people in the emerging tech, because eventually these all are going to become a reality in the say next 5 to 10 years. Most of them are already finding applications, varied applications, which means you need to have that particular strata also ready for this kind of tech. PMKVY is also looking at this. Clear? So look at these two particular things now. The Skill Hub initiative, which creates an industry skilled workforce, broadly focuses on creating a skilled workforce that matches the current trend in the job market. You must have heard this, no? That our students are not ready for the job market, that their training is not good enough for the job market, that our engineers are not ready for the job market. Well, that might be a fair criticism, say in the higher education sector. In the unregulated sector also, that is also a criticism. Okay, that the industry expectations are that you have say a particular skill set that is up till say 70% development. Okay, but most of the people will come with say 25% knowledge of that particular skill, which means this gap needs to be fulfilled. Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana looks to do that on a very a large basis throughout the country. All right, go forward. So the interventions by the government, besides Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, what else has the government done? A national apprenticeship promotion scheme. Okay, you're looking at promoting apprenticeship, financial incentives, tech, advocacy support. Okay, you're looking at Yuva Udyamita Vikas Abhiyan. This is for you guys. If you want to be say entrepreneurs, go ahead, make use of this particular policy. Okay, business use, studies you get to. Access to entrepreneurship, support networks. Why are support networks important? Because to say go inside the market, you need to talk to someone who's already been in the market. What are the challenges? What are the opportunities? What are the threats? That SWOT analysis has to be done by someone who's already been there. You need say extensive networks. If you have to form your own supply chain, how do you go about it? Someone needs to tell you, okay, these are the people you approach. This is the way you negotiate a contract. All of that is there. All right. The skill loan scheme. All right. Finance the youth for enrollment in skill development courses, because some of them may not have the necessary infrastructure or the money to avail these courses. And this is important, guys. Please make a note of this. Okay. The skill impact bond. Extremely critical, because this is pioneered by the National Skill Development Center, which focuses on a result outcome driven plan that prioritizes job placements and retention strategies. And this is being run on a private partnership model. Okay, public-private partnership model. So now what is the skill impact bond? Make a note of this from the exam perspective. I'm telling you it's important. Okay, what you're looking at is a not-for-profit company, the NSDC in fact, the National Skill Developmental Corporation. Okay, this is a not-for-profit public sector company. Okay, and this is being run on the public-private partnership model. All right, and what it serves to do is to make sure that say the private people, the private companies, as well as the individuals, as well as the government, all of the three are on an equal platform, so as to manage the necessary expectations of all of them. And so under this bond, what happens is that the private entity funds it, Okay, so what they do is say, suppose give $10 million, okay, for setting up a skilling center. Now, the government takes care of the rest, skills people, and now these people go and work for that company. What is found is that the investments of $10 million are recouped in less than 3 to 4 years, and from the fifth year onwards, you're looking at $15 million of profit for the company because they are getting the individuals that are required with the necessary skill set. Okay, which is called a skill impact bond. Make a note of this, please. It's PPP model. Okay. So it focuses on leveraging real employment to trainees rather than certification, and has been successful in enrolling 18,000 first-time job seekers. 72% are women, which is why skill impact bond becomes important. That you are training them, not just certifying what they know. Okay. And then making sure that they have immediate job placements. Who is benefiting the most out of them? 72% of the skill impact bond people are the women folk. They are getting the most out of it. And we discussed how the male-female, there is a divergence in the labor force participation rate, which means this is good for the females. Clear? All right. So the way ahead, first, improve the quality of basic education. All right. Why? Because eventually, if you expose young people to vocational skills, they are trained right from the very beginning. That training has to develop from school itself. First, that expectation, the knowledge, okay. Then finally, you go ahead and prepare them for the job market. So this is necessary. You are looking at interlinking early education to technical training. Make a note of this. This is your mains points, further points, guys. Further point for means, which culminates into competencies required to enter the industry. You also need to map the skill requirements. Okay. What type of skills are necessary for what type of sectors? Only then can you go ahead and invest money in training people for that sector. So there needs to be like a knowledge sharing process between the private entities and the government, which is why mapping of skill requirement is important. You are engaging with the industry for data sharing. Okay. What's the attrition rate? How many people entered? How many people, what was the median pay? All of that knowledge is required so that you are able to better frame policies plus train people better. Okay. And thereafter, you look at this very telling thing that the Parliamentary Standing Committee, the 36th report, it observed that the program has greatly suffered due to the underutilization of funds, which means that the way forward has to be outcome-based fund utilization. Okay. This is the way forward, guys, that your fund utilization, how much money are you spending? That needs to be guided by, say, science. You need to look at the past data, and then figure out, okay, this is the money that I'm investing. This is the money that is helping the people. This is how it is developing the economy. So that needs to be done. Underutilization of funds should not be a problem, but it is. Why? Because there is lack of knowledge sharing. Look at the different stakeholders firstly. You have the government, the private industry, as well as the job seekers. And all three have different expectations coming out of this whole project. So there needs to be a congruence of thought also, right? One person is looking at, say, the profit maximization, the private companies. The government is looking at, say, more people entering the economy, which means more tax revenue, India towards $1 trillion economy. The job seeker is thinking, can I get a pay of, say, 40,000 rupees rather than 25,000 rupees? Different expectations, all need to be managed. Clear? Okay. So this is the question I have for you. Now this is where you guys come in. Those who answer this correctly don't need to answer it now. Have a look at the question. If you do not know, go through the whole PDF again. I'll be sharing this on my Telegram channel. And leave the answers for me in the comment box. The correct answers will be featured tomorrow, like today, in the opening slide. Alright, if you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to take them on, guys. Alright, so look at the question. With reference to PMKVY, consider the following statements. Flagship scheme of Ministry of Labour and Employment, among other things, imparts training in soft skills, entrepreneurship, financial and digital literacy, aims to align the competencies of the unregulated workforce with the National Skill Qualification Framework. We discussed this today. Okay. Which of the above are correct? You will leave an answer for me Whenever you leave an answer, we have, say, whichever number of questions. Please leave it like that so that it's easier for me to look at it. You know, your answer for A, your answer for B, your answer for C, your answer for D in the comment box, and create a small memory. More importantly, this process is tedious and long. Reward yourself on a daily basis, or else it becomes tedious. It will become very heavy. All right. Let's look at this question also. The second question that I have for you. FICCI, okay, is FICCI an autonomous body under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship? And the NSDC is a not-for-profit public limited company under the aegis of Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Which of the above are correct? This is statement question number B for you. I will be expecting answers in the comment box, guys. Take this seriously. You will learn skilling. You will not make mistakes when it comes to questions on skilling. All right. And again, this is an important concept, so I would suggest that you pay extreme attention. All right. So this closes on the 22nd. Okay. 2 more days. And after that, thank you, bye-bye, tata, good night, as this long-term batch finishes. Okay. We have no more seats left. I think around a couple of seats left. So if you are a serious aspirant, go ahead, quickly sign up before it runs out, because once the seats are over, I will stop informing you about this, and so we will begin on the 22nd evening, 6 p.m. Our faculty, our mentors, everyone is ready. Yeah, the course material is being structured, ready, done, all set. And so 22nd, 6 p.m. Your intensive 1-year course for UPSC 2024. You know, you must have realized the tangents that come with topics. You know, if you understand things in isolation, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be difficult for you going forward. So go ahead, go to studyiq.com, guys. Okay, have a look at the course brochure. Okay, I don't want to take up your time here. Take 5 minutes, go to studyiq.com, look at the course brochure, look at the deliverables right from day one, right from when you begin your counseling classes up until you enter on Shah Jahan Road, the UPSC headquarters, when you go for your interviews. Everything is covered, and all of that comes to you at what, like 1/5 of the cost that most of the major players take. All right. So go ahead, make use of this. Choose the language of your delivery. I am associated with the English batch. However, I suggest take the language of your preference, and when you sign up on studyiq.com, use the code BALIVE. Okay. You get a discount. I get allotted to your batch, and it's going to be a fun collaboration. You know, we'll learn a lot. We'll prepare a lot. It will be a learning experience, not just for you, but also for me, and hopefully at the end of this experience, there will be a success waiting for you, provided you are diligent in your efforts. All right. So I hope to see many of you in this program. Do not delay. It's just 2 more days. And then after that, this flight takes off. All right. Okay. Femtech, the next term. And guys, please make sure that you note this for the pre, absolutely important. Okay, the questions that can be framed on this, a lot. And so you'd be best advised to look at Femtech. Now, what is the problem here? Let's first address the problem. Women have profound health-related challenges. Heavy menstruation, fertility issues, pregnancy, postpartum depression, menopause, sexual health issues. All of that is present. Now, what you find is that deeply entrenched societal attitudes and taboos, they have barred women from seeking medical help independently. This is the key word here. All right. That in spite of the health challenges that the women face, that there is a certain taboo associated in seeking solutions or finding solutions to those health problems. That say when a woman is having a heavy flow during her menstruation and wants to say seek medical advice, well, the ambit of say consultation is very low. So how do you go ahead and say solve this particular problem on an individual level? All right. So what you're looking at, Femtech, a new concept that has come up. So for UPSC, extremely important, guys. The Femtech concept says a wide range of digital products and services that include wearables, apps that help women navigate their health. This is the word, guys, independently. Up until now, say a problem in the health of a female member in the house would be taken care of by the female members of the house. And if there was just one female member in the house, well, the challenge is there. Okay. A certain taboo is also associated. So how do you address that taboo? make the decision making independent, which the femtech does. Female technology, which means those technologies that help female navigate their personal health, their personal well-being. Alright. So provides customized solutions for sexual, maternal and menstrual health and other conditions that are likely to affect women. Make a note of this. Simple term, but the connotations of this are immense. Alright. So now let's look at this in detail. So the distribution of femtech companies. So those companies that are in this sector, addressing the health issues of the female gender. So what you find is most of it is centered in Europe and North America, as expected, alright. Whereas you find that the number is very low in South America, Africa, Australia and Asia too. Okay. What you also find is that Europe has a lion's share in this, and so the other concept that now is beginning to take traction is pink tax. Okay, two terms that you'll focus on today, pink tax and femtech. Alright, now understand femtax. Pink tax is suppose, go ahead today, alright, a small exercise for you. Today when you go ahead after the class, on this delivery apps, Amazon or whatever apps that there are, just search the price for say a razor for a male, search the price for a razor to be used by a woman, alright. Okay, Tanu has a question. Majority of women population do not have access to these technologies. Women are not comfortable using these. Correct, Tanu. I agree with you. The first part, access is obviously a challenge, which is why you see that Digital India is helping address that challenge. Many women now are a part of the online realm. However, as you said, the challenge associated with that is not just of access, but say also of equitable opportunity. You find women are probably the primary threat, the primary focus of trolling, abuse in the name of trolling, which serves a challenge because then that disincentivizes or does not motivate the woman to come back online again. The other problem that you mentioned, that the comfort level, well, that develops over time, Tanu. You realize technology is something that takes time. A person will take time to warm up to technology. It does not happen overnight. In fact, even if you look at say ChatGPT and all of this new tech that is coming up, it's not happening overnight. Yes. So the applications when they develop, when it eases human comfort, you find that say even our grandmothers, our dada, dadi, nana, nani are also on WhatsApp, which means that comfort level came eventually. So that the second part will happen over the due course of time, the comfort level that you are attributing to. But yes, the first part, the access bit, I agree with you. Absolutely a fair point to make. Okay. So now let's look at pink tax. So I told you, just look at the prices of razor products, okay guys? After the class today, for a male razor, like a razor for a male usage and female usage. And what you will find is that the razors to be used by women are probably priced at a premium. Okay. Whereas the razors for us, these Gillette and all these sasta varieties you will find also quite affordable prices. Why is that? Has that question ever come to your mind? That how can that be that the razor, the blade, and in fact if you look at it scientifically, human hair, the male hair is much more harder than the female hair. So by science logic, the male razor should cost more than the female razor. But why is it that female razors are priced at a premium? This is what is attributed to as pink tax. Again, a new concept, guys. Okay, let me know, all the women in the chat, if you have ever experienced this yourself, say when shopping or whatever. Have you experienced this? Let me know in the chat. Okay. So the pink tax is gender-based pricing. Okay. An upcharge on products and services marketed for women for which men are likely to pay less. You must have seen this. Okay. In fact, I checked it today morning before coming to class and I was actually surprised. Some things you take for granted until it hits you in the face. So it was that moment for me. Alright. So feminine razors are likely to be sold at a premium price when marketed for women. This is the one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is taxation on say the personal hygiene products for women. Say sanitary pads or say tampons. Should you be going ahead and say charging tax on them? Value added tax of some sort, GST or whatever. Would that be an expectation? Right? So again, you give me your thoughts also, both the sets of students, males and the boys and girls, both in the class. Is that fair? That for a personal sanitation product, a hygiene product, which is required on a monthly basis, that you go ahead and charge high tax on it. This is what happens in India also. Alright, you find that the 12% tax was introduced on feminine hygiene products in 2018, and there was a huge furor. The question that we are addressing today, huge furor. Alright, so this was eventually taken back. So having say tax on these kind of products that are necessary for women, they are not a luxury, it's a required on a monthly basis. What's the sense of taxing them? The tampon or period tax, which refers to the sales tax or consumption levies that are such as the VAT, applied to feminine hygiene items such as pads, liners, tampons and cups, and it has been hotly debated. So Kenya was the first one that kind of did away with this kind of tax, this pink tax that we are now referring to. That say a personal product comes to you at a premium, why should it? So Kenya was the first one to question it. Then you had say most of the nations in the Western world that did away with it. India also. Well, first the proposal was there, it was rolled back after immense public outcry. So very quickly now let me know what's the GST on say feminine sanitary pads or personal products. Can someone let me know in the chat? Very quickly, let's do this. Then this whole femtech and pink tax is done for you. You will be able to write this even in your essay paper, guys. It's a very pertinent concept, a new age concept that will only add value to your answer. Alright, so let me know, guys. And if this whole session was informative for you, go ahead and quickly hit that like button. Because I have been, honestly, just between you and me, I have been trying to hit 100 likes someday and it keeps getting far and far. So I'll require your help, alright. So if you see this right now live, or if you are seeing this say over the due course of the day, please do consider leaving me a like. Alright. So what's the GST percent? And should there be a GST? The larger question that you should address now, guys. As UPSC aspirants, as aware people, this is the question that you should be looking at. Should VAT be levied on say personal products for women? For women. What's the point of this? And so who goes ahead and subsidizes it? Or should it be like say how we go ahead and do with our gas, that those who can afford to give up subsidy, the PAHEL scheme, give it up. Those who need it, use it. Should that also be considered? Or you should be, are you in favor of complete 0% tax on personal hygiene products? What's your view? Because this is a view that you will have to form and develop when you include in your answer and justify. There are only two ways you can justify this. One, you are saying that 0% tax on all feminine hygiene products, which is fair and square. But then my counter question to you will be, what for those who can pay? Why should they be subsidized? Or you can tell me that how we are doing it in the gas delivery, that you have say the option of giving up subsidy. So there could be stores where you could get say subsidized sanitary pads, all of these products, tampons, menstrual cups, and there could be an option that you can buy it at market price. Right now there is no GST. Correct, Tanu. That seems to be a very fair. Right now is 0% GST. Okay. So what's the way forward? Because you'll have to remember this in your answer. You'll have to include this point in your answer. Alright. So the pink tax, please keep a view of it and also make sure that you're well aware of femtex. In fact, after the class, go ahead and look at a few femtech products, so that it will consolidate in your head that, okay, this is the product, this is how it helps navigate, a woman navigate her personal health. Alright. So the major femtech threats now. The problems that this sector is facing. Very quickly we'll take a look at that. Lack of investments. Okay. Right now the business world is not warming up to this idea. Okay. R&D funding, public support, historical effect, obviously. Education, slowdown, taxation risks. These are the problems, the challenges the femtech sector is facing. And not enough R&D, not enough fund utilization, or fund given in fact in the first place. Not a lot of public confidence like Tanu was referring to. That the public confidence in the product is not there. Fair challenge, absolutely, agreed. Right? So this is the challenge the sector is facing. Clear? And the opportunities. So have a look at this slide, okay? This is again a very not a very informative point of view. You just need to understand this particular, the threats and the challenges. But make a note of, say, the integration of femtech in, say, the health space of a country. How would you go about doing that? Because as students are now telling me, and it's very fair points that they're raising, that acceptability is a problem. So what, as a civil service aspirant, think of, say, 2 measures that you would introduce to, say, increase acceptability of femtech products, say, in rural India. If you're able to find 2 good reasons, they are done. That topic is done, because then that can be extrapolated across the whole country. What's applicable for rural, by definition, is applicable for across the country. Okay? All right. So the question that I have for you, finally, this is the question C. Okay. So what are femtechs? I have 4 options for you. Leave an answer for me in the comment box. Okay. And if you want to add to your answer, give me 2 measures. Okay, in the comment box, 2 measures to increase acceptability of femtechs in rural India. Because if you are able to figure out 2 reasons or 2 ways in making sure that these products reach rural India, your topic is done. How would you do it? If you want to increase and add to your answer, besides, say, the answers to A, B, C, leave 2 lines for me about this also. Okay, how would you go ahead and increase the acceptability of female technologies in India? All right, okay. So I will await your answers, my dear students, my dear children. And with that, we come to the end of this session. The 8 to 9 session concludes in 2 minutes. Please join me at 9:30 a.m. For a geography discussion that I have for you. You will enjoy that discussion. You will understand about Earth's history. And if there is any doubt for that's coming out of today's class, especially with relation to the first topic that we did, skilling in India. The topics that I have done, now just 2 minutes I'll take off yours. The topics that we have done in the first part, the application of that is not just from the GS perspective, obviously. That is obviously a primary goal here. But please understand that those points can easily be replicated in the essay paper also. Okay. So I've given you fodder material for both the papers. I suggest after the class ends, take 15 minutes to go through the whole PDF. I will be uploading it on my official Telegram channel. You can scan this and access it from there. Okay. And then figure out the missing gaps, because I have covered most of the things. 95% of the skilling has been done. 1 or 2 policies might have been left out. One I can think of is the Tejas policy. Now that I suddenly recall, this is also one policy that I've missed out. So have a look at the missing gaps. I think Tejas is one. Everything else is done. Your skilling is done. The Skill in India initiative, the challenge is any essay on demographic dividend, India harnessing its true potential, has to include an answer on skilling. Your fodder material is given to you. All right. So go ahead. Mains question, Deepak, coming to you on the Telegram channel. Okay. First, because I want the students to go ahead and have a relook at the whole PDF. Today was a heavy topic. So I will be uploading it on my mains, on my Telegram channel by 12:30. Okay. I have received answers from Karuna, from Deepak, and around 7 more people. Okay. Akshay, Aditya. There are few, Molishri also. So some students have sent me answers. I will be getting back to you by 12:30 because the volume of answers is quite a lot. So I have to go through, and individual feedback is what I aspire to give to my students. All right. Okay. Thank you so much everyone for your time, for your patience, for your understanding. If there is any questions for me, any doubt for me, please feel free to reach out in the comment box or on my email ID, or you can join me on my Telegram channel. All right. And if you would like me to create an Instagram ID where you can reach out to me, say via messaging or some sort, let me know in the chat. I'm considering starting a Telegram, an Instagram channel or an ID so that it better benefits this interaction that I have with you on a daily basis. All right. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I shall see you at 9:30. Please do consider joining for that discussion too. All right. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Till I see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in the Editorial Edge. Have a wonderful day. Bye.